Okay. Um, well, I wanted to make sure that we got as many people into this survey as possible. I'm gonna put it in the chat if folks don't mind filling it out at their convenience. Maybe right after the book club, just go ahead and fill it out. It's real short, and it's just a way for us to get
Okay.
um, survey the community to know what we could provide to make our conferences impactful and relevant for you. And if you didn't go to the conference, it's all good. You can still offer up some perspectives for us to go off of um, on what you would like to see. It's still relevant, y'all. So today is March 3rd, 2022, and yesterday was a great conversation. Today we're kind of continuing our discussion on Marcus Garvey a little bit, and we are going to, hear a few more things about the UNIA, and yeah, let's see what other thoughts we can provoke today. And we're gonna start on page 70. We got a few pages, so I'm gonna put Jackson Rising down for today. But if y'all do want to pick up a copy, we have both uh, PDFs of. We have links to the PDFs or where you can get the PDFs in our bio, I believe, of Jackson Rising and Collective Courage. And so if you don't have either, you could go through our bio on Instagram to find that. Jackson Rising is a book, for those that don't know, is like a partner book that we read. It's a specific case study of one cooperative in Jackson, Mississippi. They did a lot of economic shifts in their area. And so we just use them as an example of successes and failures as we couple that with what Collective Courage brings us through as we learn about various organizations and their losses and wins. Um, so, yeah, in the middle of page 70, we are right where it says Du Bois did not recognize the potential that Garvey and the UNIA had amassed. He wrote that Garvey had proved that American Negroes can, by accumulating and ministering their own capital, organizing industry, join the black centers of the South, Atlantic by commercial enterprise, and in this way ultimately redeem Africa as a fit and free home for black men. I would like to add in black women, right? Like if we do all these things, organize industry, join black centers, administering their own capital, we'll be able to set a foundation for the future generations, right? So again, this is off the continuation of the talk. Like Marcus Garvey was a great leader, um, but he had his faults, and he led by example in terms of his intention was clear. Where he fell short was the managing of the money, and Du Bois saw that as his biggest flaw, but he recognized also what he represented, and he sees the potential in folks coming together, right? And another thing that this conversation highlights is the talk of cooperative work and the actual practice of it, because you can gather under the guise of cooperative work, right? But what does it really mean? Um, I wanted to read the principles, co-op principles. Though these are principles kind of set in foundation by the Madrigan cooperative that we learned about. And so when we talk about cooperatives, this is what generally folks are referring to: open and voluntary membership, right? So you have freedom to and access to the collective. Democratic member control, members' economic participation, autonomy and independence, education, training, and information, cooperation among cooperatives, and concern for community. Um, so when we look at UNIA, was there open and voluntary membership? It would seem so. People were investing their funds for stocks in the UNIA, or in the Black Star Line, excuse me, and they had that one covered. Democratic member control. That's that wasn't proven. I don't think that was all the way enforced. I'm sure there were some aspects of, okay, the group wants something to happen to further the race, but it seems Marcus Garvey was the one to seed these ideas and bring them into fruition, but not necessarily sourcing everyone's input. Was there members' economic participation? Yes, people put their money in. Autonomy and independence. Um, that's an interesting one. I would say there was until there wasn't, right? The government came and seized it based on them accusing him of doing fraud. And so, is that autonomous? Is that independent? I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, if are you truly independent if you can be uh, seized by the government?
I don't think you can be, but at the same time, the way the picture is painted and based off the United States government track record, I think the type of mindset that Marcus Garvey had was kind of like I need to head this and I need to make sure it happens. But also at the same time, when he was accumulating the smaller businesses, maybe putting some of his head top people or officials into certain positions, like, hey, you go over here and make sure that this person is doing XYZ, which would independently empower that person who can possibly be subjected to corruption. So, I mean, that can be a rabbit hole where the United States government could weasel their way in, because it would be ironic for mostly all of those companies to come together collectively in some type of way, fashion, or form, or donate their money or give their money and say they want to be a part of something. And then for this just one person to have the image that, yeah, I really don't want to do this democratically is my idea. Like, he had to have some form of agreement. So, but to answer your question, no, if the government can the United States government can do whatever they want to do. So if it's competition to them, then I think that anybody could. I mean, the government could take over any country unless they have a force that's willing to compete with them and fight them.
Right. Hegemony. They have the strength militarily to back up the rules that they want to enforce. They being, FBI.
They could seize anybody, even their own self, even in the government. They seize it if they want. They gonna take it.
Eminent domain.
Yeah, and Reggie back on all that. You know, Marcus.
Veggie back.
You
I
know,
just cut that. My
keep it clean,
bad.
clean. Marcus Garvey was really tied up because a lot of the people that he appointed to positions, they weren't technically sound in the position that they were acquired. So he pretty much brought up people from the ranks in the movement and people that he knew. And those are the people that kind of fishtailed and ran with like over $1 million for a project. And, he had a leadership role and he is like a treasurer. And it came to find out that the treasurer wasn't properly keeping books. And we got to also understand that the federal government, a faction of the federal government was really started to bring down Marcus Garvey. Okay. What's that dude that's named after one of them dams?
Hoover.
Hoover.
Hoover. Yeah, Hoover was hell bent on bringing down Garvey, and one of the main things that really that got them. Oh, to answer your question, yes, they were autonomous, and they went through painstaking efforts to try to bring down Garvey in the movement. And the only thing that they found was that there was an issue from the newspaper that they used to put out where they tried to, fundraise to get this boat. And what the government found out was that Marcus Garvey technically didn't own this boat at the time that he was fundraising. And that's how they got them for fraud. And then that's how they was able to come move in and seize all their records and their materials. So they just pretty much hijacked the movement. They were autonomous. And yeah, so I'm at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so 5, education, training, and information. Thank you for that, Brother Tut. Education and training for members, elected representatives, CEOs, employees, help them effectively contribute to the development of their cooperatives, right? So basically everyone is getting on the same level. Everyone is growing in knowledge of what's going on contextually within their company and possibly what's happening in their industry. 6, cooperation among cooperatives, right? So what we're doing here is a sample microcosm of that, because everyone here might represent whatever organization they come from, or maybe just themselves. But um, in essence, cooperation among cooperatives can look very different, but basically coming together with a common cause, and then concern for community. So these are 7 cooperative principles, like I said, that have roots in the Mondragon um, legacy. And so when we look at cooperatives, that's a good lens to look at it through, to look at it through those checklists. Like, how did they meet those? What were their consistencies or inconsistencies in those? Um, so, um, yeah, I did mean to screen share. I was trying to show you guys the reading. Um, but yeah,
I'm following along PDF style.
oh, it's all good. Yes, we generally do have folks. Oh, Kingdom, did you have your hand up for something else, or was that from earlier?
Yeah, no, that was from earlier. My
Oh, okay,
bad.
cool. No, it's all good. Um, yes. So let's keep it moving, y'all. So let's move down to page 71. We're gonna move into early African American Rochdale cooperatives. In 1898, Du Bois' assessment of black business development and cooperative businesses in general was not optimistic. From such enterprises sprang the beneficial societies, and today, slowly, with difficulty, is arising real cooperative business enterprise detached from religious activity or insurance. On the other hand, private business enterprise has made some beginning. So sorry about that. Has made some beginning, and in a few cases, united joint stock enterprises. It will be years, however, before this kind of business is very successful. Du Bois counted about 15 emerging cooperative businesses in 1898 and several cemetery associations. He remained pessimistic in 1907. To some, cooperative business is simply a record of failure, just as similar attempts were for a long time, so long a time among whites in France, England, and America. Just as in the case of these latter groups, however, failure was but education for growing success in certain limited directions. So W.E.B. Du Bois, he was really making some conclusions here about what he was seeing, um, and I mean, he said he was pessimistic, um, and it seems like he had reason to believe that because of the failures that he had seen. But as we are able to look back in retrospect, was he right? Was he wrong? Well, were they failures, or did they contribute to where we are now? Like, have we improved upon the designs of the past? All right,
Was
so
that
let's
was?
move.
Oh,
Oh,
I thought
okay.
you.
Oh no, if people want to answer it, I just wasn't sure. Uh,
Well, I think we're in the development stage now because there's so many separate little cooperatives that are trying to do it on a massive level, and the ones that have lingered on from our history, I think that there's there. I don't think there's been any like type of defeats that we've had on the level that we've seen previously. So no.
wait, so you feel like we have improved upon, or we haven't improved?
We have to prove we've got better because
Gotten
but
better.
then at the same time there is been nothing to compare to what we've had in the past, so
Oh, got you.
we haven't had an accurate reading. Yeah.
That's a good point. Paula.
I was trying to find the newspaper, but I was reading this union newspaper, Siemens Union newspaper from like 1918. Long story, but they they kind of reminded readers. This was a little piece reminding readers: don't start a cooperative if you're not ready. It's gonna make the movement look bad.
Hmm.
And I'm a lawyer for co-ops, and our clients are often struggling with like, are we ready now? When are we ready? And it was really funny to read this like historic note about it. And I think, everyone probably has a different place on where they stand in terms of like, let's act now versus act when we're ready. But it seems to be like a question that has always been there. And it's hard to learn from mistakes when like there's so much time that it takes to put into starting a cooperative in the first place, and like how much can we resource gather, how much can we like archive the stuff that matters, and then also read through it while trying to keep things going and growing. So it's like I see that balance and that struggle being present throughout.
Mm. Right. Those note takers. So essential in those meetings, right? Anybody else? Have we improved upon the design? AV.
Hey, so I agree with whoever the previous person that was speaking that we're just kind of in the development stages now. I think in many ways we're experiencing like another Black Renaissance, in terms of like business development. There's a lot of eyeballs on us, and we're the generations that are going to show and prove and define who we are in this space. One thing that I did want to touch on, which is something that I also need to work on, it was on like page 55 through 57, I believe, was the importance of strategy and allyship, because when we think about building Black businesses, then we focus on ourselves, but sometimes you do need those alliances to strengthen you so you can navigate systemic racism in the United States or wherever it may be. So I noticed the Colored Farmers National Alliance and Co-op, they ended up not making it because they were at one point had an alliance with the Southern farmers or the other cooperative for white folks. But then when they sort of drew all of their resources back and then, pulled all of the money streams, away from the Southern, is it the Southern Alliance or whoever the other organization was, then they were shut down. And eventually they realized they needed to get more political and more strategic, and then ended up becoming part of or creating the People's Party. But I think that, yeah, it's important for us to understand that. And, when we talk about investment and things like that, if you look at the numbers for like Black people today who are receiving large investments, like over $1 million, those numbers are not very large. So I think that allyship is very important, and it can also be a touchy subject because of like mistrust or things like that. And so just for me too, it's like I want to be a little bit more expansive in terms of like we sometimes need allies.
Yeah, I would agree, and I feel like the most important thing to focus on is alignment of values, right? Like if a true ally has the same values, or you align on enough values to where the alliance or the cohesion is not sacrificial on either side. It's beneficial. So, I think we can find allyship within the Native American community, the indigenous peoples community for sure. Like, there's been alliances there. Um, and so that's just one example because I feel like stewardship of the land is something that is a responsibility that we should take more serious. And I know that much love to the indigenous community because that's something I've seen consistent in my upbringing in Oakland. Like that's something that they've taken really serious, and so that's something that's I resonate with as just an individual. You know what I'm saying? So I would say I'm an ally. And so in that way, we can find pockets like that to where it's just undeniable. Like if we put that work in here, it'll be beneficial for us in general. So I agree.
So in terms of like choosing your allies, do you have like a checklist, like, and write it all down? Like, are we in alignment, or what's your process?
Um, yeah, I feel like there are people that come to mind, heroes that come to mind that kind of guide me personally. Have I written them down? Not necessarily, but I think as an organization, Repair Nations, yes, we are pretty clear on what we're trying to do, and we've learned from Collective Courage and Jackson, Co-op Jackson, and other examples, and we're trying to build bridges throughout the diaspora. That's one of them. So any organization that is on that hype, we more than likely are with them. Solidarity economy and participatory budgeting. Like these are concepts that we talk about, and we also will. Any organization that we partner with should be practicing those as well. Um, and I feel like really just an authentic, democratic way of operating. You know what I'm saying? I think is a key point as well. So organizations that are on that trajectory, I think, are prime allies, and we've gone pretty deep, and I don't have them all listed in my head, but I think it's also a growing list too. You know what I mean? And that's something that we have to be aware of as the climate, of technology influences us and the world becomes smaller. Uh, we may add to that list.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So let's keep going, y'all. So we are on page 70. Oh, we got 5 minutes. Let's skip ahead a little bit to the cooperative stores 74. Citizens Cooperative Stores of Memphis was established in direct response to a Negro Cooperative Guild meeting in August 1919. From the details in the crisis article, we know that the citizens of Memphis eagerly joined the project, as evidenced by the large number of participants and the resounding success of the equity drive. According to the crisis, the cooperative raised more equity than expected, selling double the amount of shares initially offered. Members were able to buy shares in installments, and no one could own more than 10 shares. By August 1919, 5 stores were in operation in Memphis, serving about 75,000 people. The members of the local guilds associated with each store met monthly to study cooperative and discuss issues. The cooperative planned to own its own buildings and a cooperative warehouse. The crisis article written by the editor, Du Bois himself. The good results of cooperation among colored people do not lie alone in return of savings. They show also new opportunities for the earning of a livelihood and in the chance offered our colored youth to become acquainted with business methods. They hire members of the community. Thus, in a large and different sense, we have another form of cooperation. Colored people are furnishing their own with work and money for services received, and the recipients are handing the money back for redistribution to the original colored sources. I would have loved to work for a cooperative as a teenager. You know what I'm saying? And just have gotten that opportunity. I mean, I did a little bit of youth employment and I found some cool opportunities, um, but none that really prepped me for adulthood. It was more recreational, and that's cool. But I often heard my dad reminisce on how he had shop class and metallurgy and trades that were in the high school, and folks were actually getting jobs after high school, right into it. And I'm like, we may have to, as cooperatives, think about how we can bring that back and provide value to youth and whatever our fields are, and see if we can make those connections. Because when we talk about like ages 17 to 22, man, that's a very interesting age because you're still young, but you don't really, if you hadn't really had that discipline, sewn into you, it's hard to really gain it at that age. You gotta. It's real easy to get distracted, and having fun is not the issue. It's like the lack of guidance that a lot of our youth have, around that age. And so, man, just have an opportunity to, earn some money, but also learn about something that, through that time I could grow in, and, but in 5 years be an owner of something, that's kind of raw, and the level of pride that comes with. So, okay. AV, did you still have your hand up from last time or something new?
Oh, that was from last time, but that just made me think of my friend Jasmine, who owns All Aspects Academy. It's a Black owned, like, I believe it's remote. It might be going in person school. And basically you get your like middle school and you get your high school and your college education all at the same time. So by the time you graduate at 17 or 18, then you can go into the field and start working. So yeah, I'll link the website.
That's amazing. Thank you for that. Raquel?
Oh, I was just gonna say, because of what you were saying, about 17 to 22, I think that age is very like you're forming your idea of what you think is possible in the world for sure. And I think school and your experiences forms a lot of that. But for example, like just in terms of like economic structure and what we're taught in school, like high school econ, I feel like it just was never like set up youth to think, oh, there's ways for me to own a business without just like doing it by myself and like raising all that money by myself. There's ways to do it with other people. So I feel like yeah, youth education for collectively owning things together is so important, because if you're not told that that's an option, or like you learn that that's an option, you might not feel like it's even possible.
That's right. That's right. So these are things to stay to keep on the top of mind. Shiara, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that a lot of our dads were in a lot of these different programs, and it just shows how much it prepared them, because my dad still to this day, um he could fix a car. No, leave him in there. No. Okay, sorry. Um Still to this day, he he could jack of all trades, work on cars for me if I need something worked on real quick. Um, switch out a water heater, pull out a wall, change some pipes. And he did all of this. He learned all of these things from the programs they had in his high school.
Mm,
So I just think that was strategic that they took that out of our schools, and um, and then made us, you know, have to, uh, I guess, figure it out on our own, like you said, from that age, from 17 to 24, figuring it out. But if you already had some type of guidance, then you can at least have an idea of what field you want to go into, because you tried these different things. So that was it.
yeah. Man, great stuff, you guys. I love these conversations. I love how the community is growing. Um, Peace to our new folks. And yeah, we're just going to keep going. Um, so that concludes this week. And, check back on the Instagram. I'll be posting, some of the highlights from our conversations. I just posted some of the conversation about women in the cooperative. So, just if you want to hear back some of these perspectives. And also, please fill out the survey. Um, yes, I can post it in the link again if you guys need me to, real quick. And, it will really help us out because we really want this next conference to just be super impactful, super value packed. We want to be relevant to what you got going on in your life. And we hope to bring you into our universe. We're expanding, worldwide. We got folks in Ghana connecting with us. We got folks in New York, folks in Mississippi, New Orleans. Where you coming from, Paula?
I live in the Santa Cruz Mountains. I
Santa
work for a
Cruz Mountain.
firm in San Francisco, so California.
Okay, cool. See, so up and down Cali, it's growing, and so we appreciate folks tapping in with us. And the link to the survey is in the chat. And shout out to AV. She put the All Aspects Academy. Go check that out. I'm gonna go check that out. And long time lurker. um, and so yeah, I appreciate everyone. Yeah, so we'll see y'all Monday. Same black time, same black channel. All right. Peace.
Have a blessed weekend.
All right,
Adios.
y'all. Enjoy y'all weekend.
All right. Peace, y'all.
Bye, everyone. Adios.